Okay, so now that we have the site restructure planner completed, we have everything mapped out with their intended actions. The next step, of course, is to begin the implementation phase. Now, before we begin making changes, it's incredibly important that we take a look at the existing redirects that are currently in place. The reason for this, of course, is we want to avoid situations where we're creating redirect chains. It doesn't make sense to start adding new redirects if we already have existing redirects in place. We want to avoid, like I said, we want to avoid situations where we've got an existing URL that redirects to another URL that then redirects to another URL. If this happens, we can end up in a situation where we're experiencing issues with crawling and indexation, as well as pages timing out. You know, if it gets bad enough, a page will actually sit there trying to load, going around and around and around with redirect in a redirect loop, and eventually time out. That, of course, does not make for a great user experience. So in order to save a bit of time, I've actually pulled down all of the existing redirects from the Alex Mandry website, because ideally we want to remove all of the existing redirects so that we can start clean. We know if we do that, the likelihood of creating issues around redirects and creating redirect chains and everything else, that likelihood is going to be a lot less. So we can check this by going back to our spreadsheet that we pulled down from using Ahrefs. Remember, this is our inbound links, and we're going to copy all of the URLs that are currently, all of the URLs that currently have links pointing to them. So let's copy these down. Again, I'm just going to dump these into an Excel spreadsheet because I don't intend on keeping these. So URLs with links, and to run the comparison, again, it's the same as we did before. I'm going to grab all of the existing redirects. Okay. Now we'll highlight both columns and select home, conditional formatting, highlight cells. And let's duplicate values, let's highlight them in red. All right, so what can we see? So the first thing that I see here is we've got this strange offices/Adelaide, which is very unusual given that I know they don't service that area. So for this one here, Adelaide is, offices Adelaide is currently redirecting. It appears to have links pointing to it. So there's a redirect in place. So this is the URL that has links pointing to it. Okay, so there's inbound links pointing to this page here for whatever reason, I don't know. And there's a redirect in place. So let's see where this redirect goes to. I'll just dump it straight into the browser to see where we end up. Okay, so this content is password protected. I have seen this for whatever reason on this site. They've got deleted content that's password protected. So I'm going to make the assumption there that this page is probably irrelevant and I can delete it, given that I know they definitely don't service that area. Don't this is a case of do as I say, not as I do. Don't ever make assumptions. Always make sure that you make every effort to double check this. But I'm absolutely certain they don't service Adelaide. So I'm just going to delete that. I probably will ensure that I include this Adelaide URL. I'll set a redirect for that to make sure that I preserve link equity on that one. But this other one here is really interesting because this was the old. Hang on, I need to double check here. This is why it's really important, guys, to spend the time to map out your URL structure properly, because I can see Family Lawyer Sunshine Coast, I believe, is the old URL, and it currently has links pointing to it. So let's just double check that. And if I remember rightly, this takes us to Sunshine Coast Family Lawyers. Okay, now let's perform a check against that, and we'll go back and what I'm going to check for here to see if the new URL that's currently in place has link equity or links pointing to it as well. Find next. Okay, which it does. It's here. Okay, so now we're in a situation where we've got, essentially we're going to end up with three URLs. We've got the old URL which has links pointing to it. We've got the URL that is currently in place, which is this one, the current URL, which is this one, and the new URL, which we're going to implement as part of the site restructure. Now, I'm going to pause for a second here, and I'll take you through my thought process as to how best I think this should be actioned. Okay, so as we found as part of our audit, we can see that, and I've labeled these A, B, C to make it easy to explain and understand. This is the original URL that was in place before the existing SEO agency or the existing agency or whoever it was that was performing the work changed it to URL B, right, which is this one. Okay, now we know, given the analysis that we've just performed, that this URL here has inbound links pointing to it, and so does this one, right? Now, if we hadn't checked that, it would have been real easy to have simply just set a redirect, remove this redirect that's currently in place, and set a redirect from here pointing to our new URL, which is C, alexmandry.com.au/law/family. And we would have lost this. Okay, that's not great. Again, we want to do everything we can to preserve link equity. So given that we know that both of these URLs have link equity, A and B, URL A and B, what I would recommend doing in this case is simply creating a redirect from both. So I would take note of both of these URLs, and I would set a redirect to from both to the new URL. Okay, I know, like I said, this can get a little bit confusing, and I will say this, guys, like if you're going through this process and you can see that there's existing link equity pointing to previously set URLs that have already been forwarded to new URLs, and you've mapped out the site structure and you find yourself in a similar situation to this, use a little bit of common sense. Sometimes I'll just make the decision to scrap everything, right? And just implement one redirect from the existing through to, in this case, from B straight to C, and I won't waste any time with this top one. Now, I'm not saying get reckless with this. Obviously, you want to take precautions and make sure you're doing the right thing. But if it's only a small site, it's not getting a lot of traffic, you don't need to spend 2 or 3 weeks trying to work this out. It's probably not as important as what you think. Having said that, though, again, always take precautions. Perform this action in the way in which is going to give you the best possible outcome. If, for example's sake, this URL B in this case had a link from some Chinese pharmaceutical website, but this one was featured in a news article, well then I wouldn't bother setting a redirect from here at all, from URL B. Okay, but I would definitely preserve the one from A. Okay, so having said all of that, given what we know now, what I will do from here is simply copy these URLs out. I'll just paste them into a notepad file, Adelaide, and I think we should already have this one at the top. If we don't, I'll just double check to make sure, and I will add these to my site restructure planner. So go back to my site restructure planner, and we will just paste these in. I believe I already have this Family Lawyer Sunshine Coast. I'm almost certain that I'll have this in here. Family Lawyer. Okay, so I've already got that one, so I don't need to worry about that. But this other one, Sunshine Coast Family Law, Sunshine Coast Family Law. I'm just double checking here to make sure that I haven't accidentally pulled it out. So it's Sunshine Coast Family Lawyers. So Sunshine Coast Family Lawyers. Okay, so I've already got both of those in there already. So I should be covered in that regard. I'll definitely add this one that's pointing to Adelaide, because that one is definitely unusual. I'm not even sure why that's there, but I'd be pretty confident with moving ahead with this. Of course, we're going to perform testing and everything else to make sure that everything is correct and working and in place without any problems after we've completed the changeover. So in any case, I would set a redirect on that one, and really not sure where to point that one. I'd probably just point it back to Sunshine Coast. Okay guys, so hopefully that all makes sense. The next step, of course, is to go about applying or implementing rather our redirects and beginning the actual changeover process.